Real estate agents. There are a whole lot of different lead gen companies out there, and they use algorithms, they use all these metrics and things, but they're hit or miss. PlutusLeads.com is different. These leads have already reached out to other real estate professionals interested in selling their property today. Those professionals have decided that they are a better fit for you as an agent. Once you sign up, you will receive highly motivated leads in your inbox as soon as they come in, including notes from our conversations with those sellers. If you like what you see, click to purchase, call them, lock it up. PlutusLeads.com.
Hey, Matt,
Hey,
you ever picked up a duck?
I've picked up quite a few ducks. I grew up on a farm. You ever been to a house with a duck?
Like outside?
No, like inside.
No, I can't say that I have.
All right. Yeah, this was when we didn't even buy this house because it was too bad. You just heard about it secondhand because you were too afraid to go. 'Cause that was the thing. I even told you, you were like, "No, I'm afraid of ducks." That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I don't go to houses,
no, not with ducks.
especially not with ducks.
That's part of your PQ script. Is just okay. Do you own a duck?
Yep.
I'm not coming.
It's my pre-qualifying question.
Yeah, there is no amount.
Do you
of
have any
money.
aggressive animals or ducks?
Just any type of duck. Do you have duck art? I'm not fucking going. That's one of your hard rules.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, this I think she was a pay-per-click lead, but she reached out. I called. I was really excited because it was a big house in a good part of town, and she was really sweet. She was a nice woman. She sounded well spoken, and told me all the things. Her husband was sick, lost his job, special needs daughter, can't pay the mortgage. We got to sell the house. So I'm like, okay, so we talk, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna come over and take a look at it. At that point, and I'm assuming you've had the same thing. Most people are like, well, it's kind of messy, and they don't want you to see how they live. So I always tell them, I promise you I've seen worse, and then I tell them a handful of things that I've seen that were just terrible to make them feel better about their messy house. So I give her that speech, and she invites me over. Get there, and from the outside, it's not in great shape, but it's not like noticeably insane. There's trees that have been cut down and cut up, but not moved. Weeds are growing up against the house all over everything. She had mentioned structural issues over the phone, so I started on the outside and didn't see any structural issues. There was no cracks in the foundation or brick. Everything looked pretty solid. So we go around it, and there's a lot of work, but it's all normal. It's just, it looks like somebody got too old to take care of their house. That was it. So we do all that, and there's no animals. There's none animals outside of that house. There's no sign of animals outside of that house. And I go to the door, and she doesn't want to let me in. And so I give her the speech again. Explain to her that I'm not here to judge. I just need to get an idea of what kind of work the house needs, and I'll be in and out and super respectful, and it's fine. So she graciously allows me to come into her home, and again, she is so normal and so nice, and I liked her as a human being. But that was one of the grossest places I've ever been. When you walk in the door, as they built it, it was supposed to be like a den, just a family room, fireplace in the corner, big oversized addition, just a giant room. What it was is a room full of birds and loose ferrets. And her special needs daughter slept in a mattress that was in that room that had been chewed up by the ferrets.
Oh.
And there was also a dumpster, maybe a dumpster and a half worth of stuff in that room. Just stuff. It wasn't really filth, it was just things. So the smell was terrible. Look over that room, and I still had hope. Because I was like, well, everything could be cleaned up. We can just get all this stuff out of here. We'll kill these walls. That'll get the ferret stink out of it. Everything's going to be good. So then we go, there were two doors coming out. She would not allow me to go out one because she said, you can't make it that way. I'm like, what do you mean you can't make it that way? She's like, you just can't make it. You got to come through this way. So I go through the other door. One room was boarded up and the door was closed. So multiple joists had failed under that one, and the floors had sunken in. It was filled with cobwebs. It was filled with clothes, general just stuff. The hallway, you could feel it. You drop 6 inches over 10 feet as you're walking.
Yeah.
And then you get to the kitchen, and she was walking. She was not a little woman. She was not huge, but she was a bigger lady. And it really scared me that she was walking on those floors. They were spongy, and you could see everything in the kitchen shaking as she walked. And I Indiana Jones'd it. I just backed up and like did a little running leap and jumped over a section of it because it scared me so bad. So I started losing faith in the house at this point. And it's at this point that the duck comes into play. So once you get past the kitchen, there's a different kind of filth. So you had ferrets and birds in the great room. You had cobwebs, spiders, general just nastiness in the hallway. The kitchen was clearly as far as the duck would venture. So you had the den for the ferrets, then they had Great Danes in the back living room, and the duck had free reign of the middle of the house. And it was just a duck, and he followed me through multiple rooms, walking under my feet, quacking, shitting every step of the way. She would scold him for using the bathroom in the house and talk about how she needs to get on top of that and get him housebroke so he quits making a mess while he's walking. And it was like a dog. He stayed with me the whole way. And I wasn't even able to go in the back living room, which is where her husband lived. He was sitting in a chair watching Wheel of Fortune. No, Price is Right. That's what it's called. The one with the big wheel where you spin it.
Oh, yeah.
And you try to get it to $1. Yeah. Bob Barker. Rest in peace. He had the Great Danes. And the smell emanating from that room was a mixture of someone who uses a bedpan and it never gets cleaned out, and 2 Great Danes. And that's what it was. And then I almost forgot about this house, but I was looking through my pictures. So I get to this back room, and this house had been Frankenstein.
Do you have the picture of the duck?
I don't have a picture of the duck anymore.
I was actually a wholesaler. I don't know if it was before or after that.
It was after.
Yeah, had sent me that same deal, and I mean it was like astronomically high. I want to say like 250, 300,
yeah,
and the house
like 400.
Yeah, I mean, and it was horrible. But I remember going through the pictures, and I messaged him back, and I said, "Is this a duck?" Because I don't understand from a wholesale perspective if like you're trying to show the best face of a house and you're like, fuck
Close
it.
up of the duck.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's really show them that a duck is living in this house.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, didn't you even tell him? Like, you were like, I've seen that duck before.
I've seen this duck.
Yeah,
I've seen this house. It is.
That back dining room had a thing that I've never seen a house do before. So that main support that runs underneath had failed fully. And so there was a dividing wall that divided some room from the dining room, and there was a 1-foot gap from the top of that wall to the ceiling where that wall had just dropped a foot. That was a new one for me.
So the main girder failed?
Yes. And the whole wall just dropped down, and there was a 1-foot gap between the top of the wall and the ceiling line. That was crazy.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, and they're all just living in there with a pile of animals. And
a duck.
I don't remember the numbers, but I remember it was ridiculous what she was asking. Because it was a big house, and it needed a bunch of work.
So what are like the top like 2 or 3 things that you think like people like that go through in order to start living like that?
Mentally? Like in their personal life?
Physically? Yeah. I mean, people don't probably wake up as kids, or not wake up as kids, but start as kids, start as like an early adult and say, you know what, one day I'm going to have, 4 ferrets, 6 dogs, and a duck live in my house, and I'm not going to clean up after any of them. So like, I'm just curious because like I've thought about it myself. I'm just have you ever given it a thought like, hey, what took place in these people's lives?
I mean, a lot, but I think it's a lot of different things. I think in some cases, I think it absolutely spawns from childhood. I think in their childhood, they either lost a lot, and so they want to make sure that they're surrounded by stuff because they didn't have things growing up.
Sure.
Or a lot of them, if it's not filth, if it's just stuff, it's like it's that dopamine hit of going shopping. It's, I'm going to go out and buy a thing. And then they just go buy stuff.
Yeah.
And it makes them happy for a minute. And then that's why we've done so many houses where you're throwing away bags of stuff that's brand new, never opened, unused. But it's just sat in a bag for so long that it's just too gross to use anymore. But yeah, I don't know. Hoarders are crazy. It's a lot. And then I think it just gets away from them. It's that short term. Everybody loves an animal. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I want to make my kid happy. They can have a ferret.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? You can't have a second ferret. You know, if we got 2, why not 4?
Right?
Because there were more than 4. There weren't 6, but I know there were at least 4 ferrets that I counted in that room running around loose. Just fucking weasels running all over that room.
And ferrets have the worst smell. I mean,
They're so gross.
Even
man.
if you keep ferrets clean, even if you keep a clean house, like ferrets are just smelly like rodents.
And mischievous. Like, they'll chew up everything.
Oh yeah, they're not. Well, they're not. I really think meant to be like.
They're weasels.
I know they're like meant to be domesticated, but like, are they really?
No, they're weasels.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be outside killing your chickens. That's
Right.
where ferrets are supposed to be.
Yeah, they're.
Gross.
Yeah, they stink.
They're so gross. I don't understand why people like them. This girl that I knew growing up, there was a pet store, and you could just like pet the ferrets. She decided she was going to steal a ferret. So she grabbed a ferret out of the pet a ferret bin and shoved it in her purse and then just bolted. And then by the time she got to her car, the ferret was dead because in that 2 minutes it had eaten a whole bunch of makeup in her purse and just
Oh
killed it.
jeez.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. That's another fun ferret story. She's probably dead now too.
The Ferret Chronicles.
No, the duck house was one for the books. That woman was so freaking sweet though, man. Like, she was telling me about all of her jewelry that she makes, and she was so pleasant. And I was telling her that I have 2 girls, and I was telling her about my family, and we're walking through. And then at the end of it, she like handed me a pile of bracelets that she had made and was like, give these to your daughters, and you just tell them I'm going to make them a new bracelet every week. Like, she was so nice.
See, that's why I'm wondering. It's like what took place.
I think
In
she got
order for-
overwhelmed. I
Yeah.
think life was just, it was probably a little bit of this led to a little bit of that, and then before you know it, it was just off the rails.
Yeah, I went to a really nice house one time from an acquisition standpoint. Didn't end up buying it, but it was a basement 2-story house, probably 4,000 square feet, and just like the weirdest thing. This was like this because it was just gross. I mean, there was people everywhere. Had a bonus room, and then people were just kind of like sitting in there, just like rocking, like just old dirty people. And the house was just just your typical just dirty house. Like,
So just like an old married couple, like 2 old people?
yeah, just like sitting there rocking. Well,
Okay.
the person I was like viewing the house with, I don't know if she was the owner, the daughter, something like that. Probably a girl in like her mid-20s that also lived there.
How big was this house?
About 4,000 square
4,000
feet.
square
Yeah,
feet.
basement 2-story. And it was just, it wasn't like horrible. However, it was just gross. Like, it was just like nobody took care of it. Just stains all over the carpet. Like a bathroom that like I would like rather hold it to go to like a shitty gas station, whatever it was. But to like, kind of like, well, how is like it acceptable for like normal people, right? Like, these people were totally normal, but it was just very gross. And the girl that was like showing me around, mid-20s, like very attractive girl that like you would like see as like a bartender, right? Just like, hey, just totally like, yeah, here's your rum and coke. Just a totally just normal looking, well put together, well makeup, nice hair,
Was she
good
related to
good
these
hygiene. Yes.
Like that was their
She
daughter
lived
or
there.
granddaughter?
She lived there. I don't know if she was daughter or granddaughter, but like this is grandma's room, this is my room kind of thing. And it's just like everything was just the picture of what she portrayed and who she was and how they all lived was totally different. And that's just like always been very interesting to me because a lot of times they mirror.
Yeah.
House kind of mirrors the person's appearance and their demeanor and how they articulate themselves. All of these things are typically mirrored. So I always get thrown off when I go and look at a house where I'm like, whoa, like you live in this house from a perspective of like they might be well put together. Sometimes like a person's appearance and then their house is like pretty nice, which I found that to be like a little bit more relatively common.
Yeah.
Where somebody looks like country bumpkin, talk like it, they dress like it, but then you go to their house and it's like, oh wow, like you take pride in your house, not your speech, not how you look. It's like good for you, right? To an extent. But the people that are like attractive, are hygienic, well put together, and then you go to their house and it's like, oh, you're actually getting up in the morning and stepping over cat shit to go and shower to make yourself
just wearing
look
really nice clothes, and you're like, that's the coffee jar I pee in.
exactly. And that's where I'm just like, what happened to these people? I don't have an answer to that. It's just I know it's all there. I wonder how many different reasons there are. Right?
A lot.
Is there 100 or is there actually just 10?
A lot. I think there's so many.
Do you see what I mean?
Subtle nuance. Like because my dad was one of those. Like he is one of those crazy house people. He has got a bunch of crazy crap, but I don't know. I mean, and again, if you're raised around it, then it makes a little bit more sense. And maybe you just like for that girl, maybe she was just like, I don't care, screw it. I just have to sleep here, and then I'm gonna get out of this house and go have fun.
Yeah, like you said, like
smelly?
raised in it. Yeah, it was gross. Yeah, smelly. Like it was all around gross.
You
like
say old? How old?
how old was she?
How old were they?
Oh,
60s, 80s?
60s. Yeah,
Okay.
she was like I said, probably in her 20s. She probably was like the granddaughter. I don't
Young
remember
enough
all
to
the
be able
details.
to
Old enough to
do
be able
better.
to. Old enough to be able to even do better, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is like, okay, if I like knew that, like I wouldn't even want to like shake that girl's hand based on the living conditions that she was in. Whereas like she was totally put together, hygienic looking, very, very kind, very well spoken, but like just based on the fact that, like you said, it's like, well, you probably just pissed in a jar and like
You put together a purchase agreement and then tell her to keep the pen after. Just,
exactly. I'm like, no.
that's yours.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, just,
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm
You
good.
keep
I
that
don't want to
pen.
touch that pen after you
Ugh.
and get some, scabies or
That's
something.
gross.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is it was just like, it's not the houses that you described, but it's like, yes, like, bugs and like, one thing that like always gets me is just like all of the heavy stained carpet, even if it's like a decent house, it's just like do you just, you're like, like milk, right? It's just like, fuck it.
Well,
What's some chocolate milk on the floor?
Well, and like you can get a carpet cleaner on Amazon for like $60, and then just like the one that we got's freaking awesome. You just spray it and then scrub it, and then it's clean. Just a little handheld one.
I didn't realize how cheap like professional carpet cleaning even like is, because I don't get it done like very often. I've had it done for a handful of flips, and I'm like, okay, whatever, $600, something like that. Like my personal house was like under $400 to have, whatever, 3 stairways cleaned.
Stairs are a bitch too.
Yeah, and the thing is that the one that I have is like 7 foot wide, the big one, and then they did 2 other ones, and I was like, wait a second, like you're charging me like under $400 for this? So the fact is that people can just like leave just like people that make like an income. Like I've been in houses where like they are car dealership, not not owners, sales managers, which you have to make over like 120 or so to even be a manager at a reputable car dealership. Because if you're not making that level of money, they'll get rid of you because their dealership's not going to do well. Yeah, you're not making the dealership money. You can't be a manager of a car dealership and make $60,000 a year. But I've been in those houses where I'm like, there's just dog shit everywhere. I'm like, you're a normal person.
Yeah,
They're the person that'd be like, all right, listen, cut you a deal, 25,000. And that person in the morning's basically like, oh, damn it, stepped on dog shit.
Yeah.
Like in their bedroom. It's just, more than anything, it's just interesting to me.
there was one over on the west side. Jake was really excited about it because of where it was. And I mean, it wasn't wrong. It was at a great spot. And it was way up on a hill. And they were completely normal and not old. They were probably our age, like early to mid 30s, just somewhere around there. Well spoken, but you could smell the cats from the road. Like it was a good 20, 30 yards from the front door to where we had to park. And the smell hit you as soon as you got out. And they had, I don't know, 10 cats running around in that house. And it was hard to breathe. I didn't even do a full walkthrough. We just assigned that one. It was gross.
So to put that in perspective, just because I'm familiar with that house in that area, the largest house in Tennessee was probably about a half a mile to a quarter mile, or half a mile, 3/4 of a mile from that house. That's the area that was in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just, like I said, it just kind of furthers my point. It's just like, because, I mean, half a mile away, you have the largest house in Tennessee. And then you have a house where, you just get out of a vehicle and you're like, whoa, ammonia.
It was bad. And they were completely normal. They were just cat people. And we went in and they're like freaking out, running. There's cats running everywhere. And same thing. There's just like piss, cat shit everywhere. And they're both just, sorry, it's so messy in here. We really need to clean this up. Like, I think you're a little bit past that point.
They're like college professors, like
probably.
Like, hey, sorry, I've just been really busy, grading tests. I didn't have time to pick up Mr. Snickle shit.
And in those situations, one of the cats specifically, one of the first thoughts I have is like, where do you work and what are your coworkers' opinions of you? Because if I can smell your house from 30 yards away, I know you stink. Like, you can't tell that they stink when you're in the environment.
Yeah.
But if that house smells that bad that it's just seeped into their clothes and everywhere they go, they just emanate cat piss everywhere. And so everybody's like, here comes Danny, the cat piss guy. And they just have to endure and deal with it. And again, he was just a normal dude. We were talking. He was super friendly, well-spoken, wasn't gross, was just wearing normal clothes. Lived in that part of town, but had that gross cat house.
Man, I'm going to end this on just people are gross.
People are gross.